Shalom, shalom. Welcome to Mitzvah Moments. I am Lynn Jordan, founder of I Am Foundation. Today is Mitzvah Moments number 34, not to rebuild the city. This is from Deuteronomy chapter 13, verse 17, or Devarim 13:17. Let us open up with a moment of prayer over the forthcoming teaching. Avinu Malchainu, our Father, our King, Baruch Hata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitchenu b'mitzvotav v'tzavanu la'asok b'divai Torah. Blessed are you, our God, King of the universe, who sanctified us with his commandments, commanding us to immerse ourselves in the words of Torah. Again, this is Mitzvah Moments number 34, not to rebuild the city. This is from the book of Devarim, or Deuteronomy 13:17. In my previous teaching, I discussed the mitzvah, the commandment from God to burn a city that has turned to idol worship. When an Israelite city has been led to idolatry, Deuteronomy chapter 13:16-17 states, "Put the inhabitants of that town to the sword, and put its cattle to the sword. Doom it and all that is in it to destruction. Gather all its spoil into the open square, and burn the town and all its spoil as a holocaust to your God the Lord. And it shall remain an everlasting ruin, never to be rebuilt." So, this mitzvah is a prohibition. It is prohibited to rebuild the city that was burnt down because of its people engaging in the formal practice of idolatry. Also, the people engaging in idolatry and not repenting before God and realigning back to God. The city is called Ir Hanadachas, the apostate city. We know that the word apostate means someone who renounces and abandons religious beliefs that were previously embraced and observed. And the etymology of the word apostate from Old French is apostat, meaning one who forsakes his religion or faith. From the Greek apostasia or apostasis, meaning defection, desertion, and rebellion. The Chumash states that when the court has established that most of the city is guilty, it sends 2 Torah scholars there to try to influence the people to teshuvah, to repent. If they succeed, the city is not treated as a wayward city that must be completely destroyed. If the inhabitants repent, it is in effect no longer the same city. If the city's inhabitants do not teshuvah, do not repent, once the judicial process is complete and it's determined that the city is idolatrous and the city is burnt and destroyed again, there is a permanent prohibition against rebuilding the city. Torah states, "And it shall be a heap forever, it shall not be built again." In Jewish law, halacha, the actual physical site of the burnt and destroyed city must remain a desolate ruin. It is prohibited to rebuild the city as a residential or functional urban center. While it cannot be a city again, several authorities like Maimonides suggested that the land be used for gardens and orchards, provided no permanent structures are erected. Right, but Mishnah, Sanhedrin, says the city is never rebuilt, even gardens and orchards are forbidden. Why? Never rebuilding translates to total erasure of civic identity. Never rebuilding the city also translates to having nothing revive its name or function. So the city is a holocaust to the Lord. The city stands as a memorial, right? It serves as a negative memorial, standing as a reminder of the sheer weight and gravity of communal idolatry, spiritual behavior to God, betrayal to God, and leaving its ruins stands as a reminder of the consequences for abandoning one's core beliefs in the one and true God, Elohim. And the city led to idolatry was led by an instigator, right? Actively led by an instigator who incites, persuades, seduces others to abandon the worship of Elohim to serve other gods. And this can be particularly significant because the inciter incites the entire city. He corrupts, destroys the moral and spiritual order of the whole city, and pollutes the communal order of the city. So, but the abomination of idol worship is committed, not just arbitrary abomination, but the communal abomination of the city. So the city is never to be rebuilt to keep it as the spiritual contagion in order and confined. as well. So, yeah. There is a halakha, a law, that one should not derive benefit from anything associated with idolatry, with avodah zarah. So the halakha strictly prohibits deriving any benefit from idols, their accessories and items used in their service or offerings made to idols. This includes ornaments on idols, the structures housing the idols, the items used in rituals. Any such item must be destroyed or nullified, as they cannot be brought into one's home. Deuteronomy 7:25-26 says, "You shall consign the images of their gods to the fire. You shall not covet meaning keep, the silver and gold on them, and keep them for yourselves, lest you be ensnared thereby, for it is abhorrent to your eternal God. You must not bring any abhorrent thing into your house, or you will be proscribed, forbidden and prohibited like it. You must reject it as abominable and abhorrent, for it is proscribed." Abhorrent meaning disgusting, loathing, repugnant, and detestable. I can only surmise that the city that was led to idolatry must have practiced idolatry in their homes as well as publicly. Natural objects like statues, structures, or plants do not become idols unless they are constructed or planted for the purposes of worship, but they can become accessory to idols. The city that was burnt because of practicing idolatry, avodah zarah, must never be rebuilt, because rebuilding would resurrect a spiritual system that God permanently judged. Rebuilding would erase the memory of covenantal betrayal. Rebuilding would legitimize the demonic foothold that was in the city. So this is why God doesn't say burn the idols. He says burn the entire city, everything. Rebuilding would transform divine judgment into human profit. So Rabbi Rashi says regarding why the city should never be rebuilt, so that the anger, he says, so the anger of God would turn away from Israel. Rebuilding would reopen the breach. It would keep God's wrath active, signal unresolved rebellion. A city that is burnt due to its inhabitants worshiping idols is a city that dethrones God. It's a city that loses the right to continuity. The city becomes a negative sanctuary. More importantly, it is no longer a sacred city, but the ground itself is treated as a desecrated city, defiled and spiritually contaminated. It's a city that is impure at a systemic level. Also, this is a city space where God's name cannot dwell. This mitzvah not to rebuild the city from Deuteronomy 13:17 shows that God judges souls and systems. He holds communities accountable for corruption. Cultures can become irredeemably toxic. The burnt city becomes a living sermon. By forbidding the rebuilding of the city that practice idolatry, Torah ensures that no one profits from the land or the property that was once part of the community that turned away from its spiritual covenant with God and purpose. As brought forth in my last teaching, Mitzvah Moments number 33, to burn a city that has turned to idol worship, right, in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 13, verse 17. According to the Talmud and Sanhedrin, right, extreme requirements were set into place as safeguards, as a fence around this mitzvah, this commandment, to avoid having to implement the burning of a city that has turned to idol worship. Thus, the extreme and extensive requirements for implementing burning a city that is led to idolatry makes this commandment, this mitzvah, virtually impossible to execute. Thanks so much for viewing. This is Mitzvah Moments number 34, not to rebuild the city. Thanks so much. Oh, to give tzedekah, to be a financial blessing to this ministry, please do so at Cash App, $I am Foundation and the number 1. Again, $I am Foundation and number 1, or via Zelle, through Zelle at Lynn Jordan 4, the number 4 at gmail.com, Lynn Jordan 4 at gmail.com. Todah Rabah. Thank you very much for all your support and your prayers. Yivarecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'eh Adonai panav elecha v'hunecha, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May God lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. And they shall write my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Thanks so much. Shalom Alechem. Be well.